Put your head on my shoulder.
Hi friends, happy Wellness Wednesday. My name is Nicole. I'm a second year chiropody student here at the Michener Institute and this year's Student Council Vice President. I'm also an avid bullet journaler, and in today's episode of Wellness Wednesdays, I'm going to be showing you some of the basics of bullet journaling and how you can get started. So if you're wondering what is bullet journaling, it's kind of like a DIY agenda. The cool thing about it is that you can customize it to you, and it definitely doesn't have to be perfect. I'm by no means an amazing artist, but I love to doodle. I love to watercolor with my best friend Joyce, who did a watercolor tutorial a couple episodes ago, which you should definitely check out. There are all sorts of things you can incorporate into your bullet journals, whether it's if you want to track habits and keep yourself accountable, if you want to organize and plan out your day, kind of like an agenda or a calendar, or even if you want to incorporate fun things like collages or watercolors or drawings, anything really. I find it's a great way not only to stay organized, but also to take my mind off of school and do something fun and relaxing. Today I'm going to show you some of the basics. So it's definitely one of those things where you don't need to follow every single thing I do. Take what works for you and make it into your own and something that's useful for you. So if you like this tutorial and if you want some more inspiration, definitely check out my Instagram. It's @NickJournal. And you can follow me there to get more ideas like this for your bullet journal, but also for study notes. And I'd love to have you. Definitely, if you have any questions, do let me know. And let's get started. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is just run through some of the supplies. You can definitely use whatever you like, but I'm just going to show you some of my favorites, and maybe that can give you a bit of an idea of what's required and what you can use. You definitely don't need nearly all of these things. Whatever you have on hand is great, and you can definitely make it work. So starting number one thing that you probably need is a journal. So this is my journal. It's the Lechem. It's a really popular one. The cool thing about this particular one, and a lot of other brands do this too, is that it has like a dotted grid instead of traditional lines. It's definitely up to personal preference. You can get something like this. You can use any sort of notebook that you already have on hand. I personally like the dotted lines, but I know a lot of people don't. You can also get blank ones or grid lines, like a normal lined sheet of paper. So this is my personal favorite. It comes in lots of different colors and stuff as well. In terms of supplies, the big thing is just pencils and pens, really. So I always have I like mechanical pencils, and eraser is great to have, and some sort of liquid paper if you're using pens. My personal favorite pens, I like these Pigma Microns. They come in a couple of different widths or diameters of the pen. So you can get really, really fine ones or really thick ones. I also really like the Muji pens. I really like gel pens, so these ones are great and they're not super expensive. And really any kind of pen works, any ballpoint pen, whatever you've got really. Those are kind of the essentials for sure, a pen and pencil, but everything else is just a little extra. So the next thing I really like is markers. So I love these ones. These are just the Crayola Super Tips, but any sort of markers you can get your hands on are great. They have tons of options at the dollar store, and I use the dollar store Crayolas I have all the time. I really like markers if you want to add a little bit of color. One of my personal favorite supplies for bullet journaling and for note-taking and really everything is these Zebra mild liners. They are highlighters that are a little bit milder, as the name suggests, so they're not as harsh. They have a lot of different colors, and they have pastel ones, which I absolutely love. They're also double-sided, so they have this thinner side here and then a thicker side as well. So those are really awesome. Come in lots of colors. You can get them on Amazon or from Staples. If you want to splurge a little bit, these are the Tombow brush tip pens. So they come in lots and lots of different colors, and they usually come in packs of 8 colors, I believe, or 10. And they have this sort of brush tip. So it's really nice if you're doing any sort of calligraphy. So this is maybe not the best demonstration, but they're really fun, and then they have a fine tip end as well. So those are my main supplies. Some other additional things you can get This is just some craft paper, which is really fun. This is from Muji, super inexpensive. And also washi tape is something a lot of people like to use. It's just a decorative tape. It's not super strong in terms of its adhesive properties, but it is really fun. And then other than that, any other supplies, some people do stickers, post-it notes, whatever really. You can print things out from online and cut and paste them into your journal. Whatever works really. You can do watercolors. It's really up to you. Whatever you have accessible and on hand, you can definitely make it work. So let's get into the actual journaling. Alrighty, so just flipping through, the first thing we're going to get started with is a key or a legend. This I like to include at the beginning of all of my bullet journals, and what symbols you use can really vary, but these are pretty basic ones that I like to use, and it just keeps it easy. So a circle is for an event, a square is for a task. If it's in progress, I'll half color it in, and then when I'm fully finished with something, I will fully color it in. If something's been moved, I put a little arrow through it and then cross it out if it's been canceled. And then I'll just write any notes with a regular bullet point. So each month I like to do a little theme. For this month I'm going with a little eucalyptus type of moment, using lots of different shades of green. It just makes it fun to have a little theme, and then you can center your doodles or artwork around that. Some themes I've done in the past include hot air balloons or lavender. You can really do anything. I'm also doing a bit of calligraphy here for the title March. My tip here would be to, when you're doing your downstrokes, so when you're going down with your pen or your marker, to apply more pressure than a very light pressure when you're going up. You might also notice throughout this video that I tend to do things in pencil first and erase it. I don't always do this. It's more just for the video to keep myself organized and plan it out ahead of time. So if you want to save time, feel free to skip that step for sure.
You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you. You'll be like
So here I'm making a calendar. This is, for some reason, one of the most annoying steps for me. So sometimes I will just go ahead and print one out from online and paste it into my bullet journal. But I like having a calendar just to keep myself organized and see the month all in just one place.
take my eyes off you. Pardon the way that I stare. There's nothing else to compare.
Okay, so here I'm showing you one title I really like using in my bullet journals and in my school notes and stuff. So you start out by taking a piece of washi tape. You can also use painter's tape or some other sort of tape that's not super sticky. And I'll stick it on the back of my hand a couple of times just to make it even less sticky. And then I go over with a marker and I write out my word. So in this case, we're writing the word March. And I write it right over the sticker, making sure that it crosses on both sides. And then I'll go ahead and remove the washi tape. And you'll see this part is always so satisfying that there is a nice little rectangle in the middle. And then there I will write the word once again in a cursive font. And it's super easy, but it looks really cool, and it looks like you put a lot more effort into it than you actually did.
take my eyes off you. You'd be like heaven to touch. I wanna hold you so much. At last my love has arrived, and I thank God I'm alive. You're just too good to be true.
Okay, so here, after I've added in all my events for the month and made it look a little pretty, I'm writing some goals for the month, as well as some of the important changes or things happening that I just want to highlight for the month of March. And then we're going to move over to the next page. We're going to be doing a bit of a mindfulness check-in sort of activity that I like to do at the beginning of every month. But you can also do this at the beginning of a new week or a new year, something like that. But first, just to show you how to do a little bit of faux calligraphy on this title here, and my apologies for my hand blocking a lot of this. But what I'm going to be doing is just with a normal pen or marker, you just write out your word in cursive, normal cursive, nothing too special. And then you're going to go in and thicken all of your downstrokes. So every time when you wrote that word out, that you would go down with your pen, you're going to thicken in those lines, and it gives it the look of calligraphy without having to use a brush pen or anything like that. So back to this activity, there are three headers or prompts of sorts. So what I'm leaving behind, what I'm anxious about, and what I'm implementing more of. So in the first prompt, what I'm leaving behind, this is a chance to reflect back on the previous month and identify some of the things that maybe weren't working, or something that came up that you don't want to bring into the new month, like a bad habit that was developed, for example. Anything really that you don't want to do, that you maybe want to do less of or be more mindful of in this new month. So it could be if you know, for example, for me, I said I want to isolate less from others when I'm feeling upset. So what I'm anxious about is our next prompt, and this is where you might want to identify some of the things that are worrying you or making you nervous in this upcoming month. So it could be something like a big test, or you know, if there's been a new job or a new change in your life, that kind of thing. One of the things I wrote in mine was kind of COVID fatigue and ongoing isolation as well. And then the last prompt that we have is what I'm implementing more of. So this can be something that you did in the last month that worked really well, or something that you really want to do this month, sort of like a goal. So this month I'm saying one thing that I want to implement more of is connecting with others in a safe and social distance sort of way. And I think this activity is a really great way to reflect back on the month prior and identify what went well, what didn't go well, and then also be cognizant of, you know, what's coming up in this month as well and what changes might be occurring. So on to the next page, these are my trackers. So I do a habit tracker every month, and then a mood tracker, or you can also do a worry tracker. You can really track any sort of thing that you want. So for the habit trackers, I'm just writing in a little title now, and what I do is I write out some different habits. So for example, exercising or reading, and then I will do a little line, like a grid sort of situation, and every day that I do that habit, I will color it in. So on the bottom we have our mood tracker. So there are tons of different ways you can do this. Most months I kind of do a little like bar graph sort of thing, where I usually need to turn to do this horizontally in my bullet journal, but I will do a little bar graph, and along the x-axis you'll have the days of the month, and then the y-axis will be your mood on a scale of like 1 to 10. You could do this for anxiety as well, or any sort of emotion, glasses of water, steps you've taken. You can really do this kind of thing for anything. For this mood tracker, I drew a bunch of little leaves, and then at the bottom I had different colors that correspond to different moods, and I just denoted that with a little smiley or sad face, that kind of thing. So on the next page here, I'm doing a little gratitude sort of activity, and I'm just making it look cute and go with the theme first. But I've written out all the days of the month, and then each day at the end of the day or in the morning, really whenever, I write down just one thing that I'm grateful for. And it doesn't have to be something huge. It could be, I'm grateful for being able to go to school, or I'm grateful for the bus coming on time, or really anything, for food, for family, friends, etc. And it's just a great way to reflect back and take time to appreciate the things in your life. It's, for me, it helps me stay a little bit more positive, and just a good reminder of the good things in my life. So that is my gratitude there. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is to show you a couple of spreads, either weekly or daily spreads. So this is kind of like your agenda part, where you write down the things that you have to do for the day. So I'm first showing you a daily spread, so this is just for one day. So this is for a Monday, for example. And I like this because it is quite simple. So I will break this up into quadrants. So in the first quadrant, I have events, or this is just things that are scheduled in my day that have some sort of time associated with them. So classes, etc., meetings, all that kind of good stuff. In the second quadrant, I have my tasks. So this is going to be, any thing that I have to do throughout the day, just listing out all my responsibilities and things. And then in the third quadrant, I have physical. So this can be really up to your own interpretation and what you would like to do with it. Sometimes here I will write out like what I did for exercise that day, physically how I was feeling, things like sleep, for example, how much water I've drank, all that sort of good stuff. Or I could just also use it to reflect on how I felt physically at the end of the day as well. Like, was I super tired? How was like things in terms of nutrition or water consumption, all that sort of good stuff. And then in the last quadrant, I have my mental section. So this is like mental health sort of, and this is kind of where I journal at the end of the day. You can really use this however you want. As I'm writing here, you can use this as a place for affirmations. You could do a gratitude or a mindfulness type of activity. You could doodle, really whatever you're feeling that day. Alrighty, so the last spread we're doing is a weekly spread. This is to organize all 7 days of the week, kind of like your typical agenda. You can do this in lots of different ways and customize it in terms of space, how much space you need for each day, if you know one day is going to be busier than another. I also like to put a brain dump in the corner. This, you can really put anything in. I usually do grocery lists or recommendations people give me, that kind of thing. I like to set an intention for the week as well, and then I just plan out each day using the same method we've been using that I discussed at the beginning in the key. This is just one way it could look, but you can check out my Instagram to see tons of other ways to organize this. All right, friends, well, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you learned something. I hope that you try out one of the techniques I talked about in your own bullet journal. If you do, please let me know. Tag me on Instagram at NickJournal. You can also find me at NickJoyco. I had so much fun doing this, and I hope that you all took something from it. Have a great Wednesday or whatever day you're watching this, and see you next time. Bye.